We are here today with Judge Matthew Reger at the Wood County Common Pleas Court in Bowling Green. You began your career as an attorney, then prosecuting attorney. Tell us about your journey to becoming a judge.
Well, thank you. It's my honor to actually be on Perrysburg Digital Media, and so I really want to thank you for the opportunity, and I'm really glad to meet you too. So what I did was I graduated from law school in 1993, and then after law school I went and I worked for a judge, a common pleas judge, just like I am, for 3 years. And then when I got done with that, I went and became a prosecutor with the city of Bowling Green. And a prosecutor is somebody who prosecutes cases as an attorney, who represents the state or the city in cases against people who have been alleged to have done a crime. And all the crimes that I dealt with as a prosecuting attorney were misdemeanors. Now, I did that for 20 years, and then I took a little bit of a period off for 1 year between 2006 and 2007, and I moved to the country of Georgia, which is over in the former Soviet Union. And I was there teaching attorneys how to live and work in a justice system like ours. And then I also worked with their parliament, which is the same thing as their legislature, to develop laws that were kind of like ours, that were fair to criminals and provided the opportunity for criminals to have certain rights, or people who are accused of crimes to have certain rights. And then in 2016, I had the opportunity to run in an election for common pleas judge, and I ran for that election and I won, and now I'm a common pleas judge.
How is the common pleas court different than other courts?
Wonderful. Another good question. So there are different kinds of courts in the state of Ohio. There are municipal courts which deal with misdemeanors, which are offenses that have less than a year as a penalty to be imposed in jail, or have just a fine. Things that are in municipal court are things like traffic violations, maybe a disorderly conduct, sometimes a DUI, sometimes an assault, or things like that. They range from very not serious cases to things that are pretty serious. They also deal with cases that are less than $10,000. A common pleas court deals with things or cases that are usually over $10,000 in the litigation issue. They can deal with any kind of case, but typically it's over $10,000. And they deal with offenses, criminal offenses, that are felonies, which are any offense that's punishable by more than a year. Now, just so you've got a little bit of understanding is our system is derived from the English system. And in English, what we call common law, a person when they first started out, the penalty for everything was usually death. But over time, they found that there were some crimes that just didn't deserve death, and they were a little less serious. So they started putting people into jails or prison. And then they found out that maybe there was some difference between even those type of offenses. Some offenses were more serious than others, and that they shouldn't really spend that much time in prison. And they found that people who spent over a year in prison usually died. But those who were in less than a year didn't die. So they discerned that people who were given less than a year in prison were going to be for offenses that were minor or misdemeanors. And those that were greater than a year were felonies. And so that's what the common pleas court does. There's also a juvenile court, which deals with offenses involving individuals under 18. And there's a probate court that deals with issues involving people when people have died, or maybe there's some kind of mental illness or something like that. And then we have appeals courts, which appeal from decisions of the common pleas, municipal, or probate court. And then we have a Supreme Court, and that's the ultimate court within the state of Ohio.
What kinds of programs does the court have to help people stay out of jail?
That's a good question, too. So just like any time when somebody gets in trouble and parents don't go right to grounding somebody, they say, hey, you got to do this, and maybe you can, we'll keep you out of trouble. So what happens is we try to give treatment programs for people that help them gain an understanding of maybe a lot of times people commit crimes not because they want to commit crimes, but because they're under the influence of some drug or alcohol or something. And we want to give them the opportunity to learn about how to avoid making bad decisions and how to avoid addiction to some things. And so we give them treatment programs. One of the ones is called intervention in lieu. What that means is an individual will plead guilty to an offense, but the court won't find them guilty, and will give them an opportunity to do certain treatment programs and maybe community service and maybe some other things to make sure that they get better. And if they get better within a period of time, then the case is dismissed. We try to do lots of different programs to kind of get people on the better place. Part of our job is what's called rehabilitation, which means that we're trying to get people to a place where they understand that they did something wrong and they work to not do it again.
Describe the various people that work at the court and what they do to help the court function.
Okay, well, we're here in the courtroom, and I want to tell you. So you see right here is the bench. That's where I sit. I'm the judge, and so I'm at the middle of that. And my job is kind of like a referee. And my job is to say, here are the rules, and you have to apply by those rules. When one of the parties violates the rules, then I have to call them on it and say, you didn't abide by the rules. On one table over here, we have the plaintiff or the prosecutor representing the state of Ohio. Over here, we have the defendant, and those are the ones who are defending a claim against them or defending a criminal matter. Over here, we have where the jury sits. If the case is a matter to be heard by a jury, the jury would sit here. Over here, we have where the witness sits. And that's the person who saw or heard something or who's testifying about something they heard or saw, or maybe a document that they processed, they get to testify about that. Over here, we have where the court reporter sits. And the court reporter is the person who takes down all the notes to make sure that everyone knows what happened in the courtroom. Without the court reporter, we have no idea what happened in the courtroom. And so it's very important that we do nothing without her at her machine and taking down all the notes about what happened. And over here we have the bailiff. The bailiff is the person who calls the court to order, who monitors matters during the court hearing, and also hands documents that need to be handed to the attorneys in the matter. We have other people who are involved. We have the clerk's office. The clerk's office is down on the second floor, and that's where all documents that need to be filed with the court are filed or put in so that they can come before the court. We have probation officers who address the matters involving those people who are placed on probation so that they can get rehabilitated. And I think we also have court security who are here to protect us if anything happens. I think that's all the people that we deal with.
On average, how many cases are there at the courthouse each year?
No, that's a great question too. And usually there is about, I want to get this number right. I'd say between the three courts. Now there are 3 common pleas courts, okay? And between those 3 common pleas courts, there's probably about 2,000 to 3,000 cases. Now, when I was a municipal prosecutor, and I worked at the Bowling Green Municipal Court, we had about 12 to 13,000 cases per year. So that's how many that sometimes in a misdemeanor court you get a lot more cases.
Are there things that happen at the court that might be interesting for the public to come and watch?
Everything that happens at the court is interesting for the public to watch, and I always invite the public to come and see what we do. One of the days that I always invite people to come is Fridays. Fridays is my criminal day. As I said, I'm courtroom number 1, Judge Reger. Judge Mack has courtroom number 2, and her criminal day is on Mondays. And Judge Mayberry has a criminal day on Tuesdays. But what happens on criminal day is the day that, what we call it criminal day. What it means is we deal with all of our criminal cases. We have arraignments where people appear and we tell them, hey, you've been charged with this particular crime. And usually they enter a plea of not guilty, and we set it for a pretrial or we set it for a trial or something else. We have sentencings where we are sentencing people after they've either pled or there's been a jury trial finding them guilty. We have pleas where people enter a plea to the offense or to some amended count. We have pretrials where we're just talking about the case. We have probation violation hearings where someone has violated the condition of probation and are here to talk about that. So there's lots of activity, lots of things to be seen. And I want to tell everybody, I mean, from your age all the way up, that this is your court and you are always welcome to come and watch what we do here.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. It was my honor.
This is Annabelle Bucko reporting for the Perrysburg Digital Media Club.